to Heartstrings podcast. We're Wes and Neesha, and we're back.
We are back.
I
Hey, babe.
don't know why I make that little funny giggle every time.
You do. That's your little giggle. I don't have a name for it. It's just, it is what it is.
Well, I think it's my nervous giggle.
I was
I
going
have
to
that
say
little
that, but
little nervous giggle. We should not be nervous by now.
I was going to say that, but you don't really get nervous too much when you talk one on one. Maybe in front of a big crowd. But,
Or maybe in front of a camera.
Mm.
I'm spontaneous, but yeah. Anyway, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. How's these past few weeks been? The reason I say that is because I feel like we have been I don't want to say this wrong, but a moving target that it's been a hit or miss with us. And but I think we always still have such a great relationship that it doesn't matter. Do you understand what I mean about that hit or miss?
I understand what you're saying. I don't think the audience may not understand, but I understand what you're saying.
Okay, explain.
I don't agree with it necessarily.
Oh, wow.
I don't.
Okay, well,
Because you say we're like two ships passing in the dark at night, almost, but not really though.
I just feel like it's just been a really, really extremely moving season of just constant movement, and it seems like it's no breaks.
But has it? Well, okay.
That's just me.
I got you.
The reason I even brought that up is because somewhere in this, with us doing podcasts and working a little bit and doing events and trying to really just be intentional with each other and having our kids on, and just it just seems like it's just so much, and you have to have a solid relationship in order to really spend that much time together. First of all,
I think the time that we have been apart is very normal for normal people, normal couples.
So we're not the norm.
According to you. Or us. And I say that because, so I retired from my regular job. So for a whole year, I pretty much didn't do anything. I was at home most of the time, pretty much every day.
Give me coffee.
And so now that I've started working and doing some jobs again, for 3, maybe 4 days out of the week, but mostly 3 days out of the week, I may not be here during the daytime.
Okay.
But you call that?
You've been gone every week, every day,
every
all
day,
week, all week,
24/7.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I don't know.
I'm only working.
I'll just say this: sometimes the intentionality of what's needed is you could just see what you're missing. So maybe you're not missing a beat, but maybe it's something I'm missing because I am moving too fast or needy in the relationship.
Hey,
Am I needy?
I would never say that.
But that's what you feel. Tell me how you really feel, Wes. Well,
I
guess
am a professional husband. I would never say that.
the truth is that we're gonna talk.
I would call you a little spoily.
Okay, maybe that's a thing, but because we're gonna talk about relationships today, I just wanted to bring it to the forefront and just kick it off right away and say, hey, how have you been? This is my opportunity to put you on the spot.
Very normal.
You've been normal. Okay. You've been the same.
Yeah, I'm a pretty same type of person most of the time. For the most part.
That's true. Okay. Well, I just want to say thank you for being the same. Your love never fails, it never gives up, it never runs out on me. Thank God your love never runs out on me, Jesus. Okay. Well, anyway, I know we're going to talk about relationships today, and that's one of those huge things. And every time I think about relationships, I always try to put something real in it, like real-lationships, REAL, real-lationships. I always got to add something kind of funky in there.
So let's put out a disclaimer. This is not about marriage.
And it's not about anybody necessarily either. Anybody, one person.
No, it's about all of y'all. Tell the truth. These are not made up stories here. It's about all of y'all. So if something sounds familiar, we're not talking about you. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Because, I mean, everybody experiences relationship stuff. And so let me start this off with me and how I feel about relationships
Okay.
with people in general.
Okay.
Not necessarily husband wife, because that's a whole nother topic, but just friends, some family, things like that. I am um I am one, believe it or not. I don't know if you believe. I need relationships. I like relationships. I'm not a loner. I have told you that. I am not the one who can go to a restaurant, a sit down restaurant, and eat by myself, or go to the movies by myself. I'm just
But you know what they say, that everybody at least once should experience that.
to what?
To sit down and eat a meal by yourself.
Why is that?
Or I don't know. I guess to get to know you. That's a whole thing right now in a whole movement.
That is way too deep for my levels. What am I getting to know myself while I'm eating this
I mean, some
monster
time to think.
stogie?
Okay, so okay, you're right.
Do you reflect while you eat by yourself?
Yes, I do quite often. I reflect. I try
I,
not to
I,
choke.
I just I just eat. That's it.
Okay, so that's the whole thing, and I think the levels of even me as starting off the conversation today was saying, "How are you?" I'm probably wanting something a little bit deeper than "I'm good, babe."
Right.
Right. So with that being said,
You saying I'm a shallow person?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the reflection of relationships, where you say you need people, you need community, you need relationships, but what do you need about them?
So
That's what I want to ask you. What do you need about them since you're not a loner?
I don't know. Maybe I'll figure it out in this conversation. But the second part of me saying I need relationships, on the same note, if I feel like you don't want to be bothered with me,
Oh my
or
gosh.
I don't fit in your space right now at that time, I will move on and not lose any sleep over it. You know
You
what I
do
mean?
care. I mean,
No, 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 no. I care, but I'm not going to let it make me lose sleep over it, or bother me, or be upset, or pondering over it, or playing movies in my head as why you don't want to be my friend, or did I do something to you? What was it? I don't know. Maybe I need to find out. I don't necessarily need to find that closure, because I always say this, and I've said this. I was like, I'll pray about it, and I was like, God will reveal it, and it will all come out. And I have patience until that happens. I don't need to try to make it happen.
you know,
But that's me. I'm good like that. I'm wired that way. I can do that.
God definitely put a different DNA in you.
How about you, then?
I am the opposite, and you already know that. I am that person that likes a form of resolve. I do lose sleep over relationships, have throughout the years. Um, they've mattered to me, and what's interesting is that I know God made me that way, and you always say that about me. Like you were like, oh,
Absolutely.
God forbid if there was all the Wes's in the world where you wouldn't lose any sleep or care. No, no, you said.
Those weren't my words. Were more like, thank God for the Neeshas in the world.
Well, you said if
I didn't.
everybody was like me,
I said right,
right? Right?
but
Did you
I
say
was
that?
thanking God for the Neeshas in the world who love hard. But when you love hard, you
You
hurt
hurt
hard.
hard, yeah.
But you're there. You
But
go ahead.
you hurt hard, but you cut people off. You like, okay, I'm not losing no sleep. And if they
It's
never
not.
talk to you again,
It's not
you're
that I.
okay. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
You never if you never talk to you again, you're okay. But here's the kicker: if you see them on the street
Mm-hmm.
and they start up a conversation, you or don't, you can say, "Hey, how you doing?" and keep it moving. Me, on the other hand, I go into a freeze. Like I just, it's an uncomfortable feeling because there's been no resolve from the situations that have happened, and I feel like until there's closure, which I heard was a sense of control, but until there's closure, I don't necessarily know how to move on. I guess that's the best way I could put it.
That's a
I had
good
to
way to
take my
put it.
glasses off to say that.
And I don't know if it's necessarily moving on for me as much as it is you will not control my life or my emotions about this situation. I'm going to move on with my life, not move on as in pushing you out of the picture. Because if our relationships mend back together and we have a conversation and all that, then good, we can get right back. Unless We're not talking about somebody that has done something detrimental to you. Those are like, all right, I forgive you in Jesus' name, but you'll never get this space in my
Right.
life
You know,
again.
never get there. Okay.
We're not talking about those. We're just talking about some, for whatever reason,
I'll
you
give you an
just kind of fell
example.
out
So I
with
don't
it.
know. I have a particular friend I went to high school with, and I really kind of like was fascinated by her in high school because it seemed like her life was just a lot better than mine. It was, and had babies together. In terms of what I mean by that is like at the same
You,
time,
you had babies at the same time.
not together, but had babies at the same time, and kind of like I was her hairstylist and all these other things. And like she completely like just we had a conversation one day, and I think there was some elements of truth. I'll never forget. I was driving down Route 30, and I was sharing my heart because it was a very difficult time. I think Chris had just went through a very difficult time after giving birth to TJ, and him not it was just a rough time, right? 2016 was just a hard year. But my point was that I shared my heart, and and I feel like I do feel this way. I feel like I'm always the one sending out a text, or checking on people or whatever. And people that are closest to me, or somebody I haven't heard from in a while, that always want something, they want their hair done, or they wanted this or that and the other. I think at that moment, I don't know what happened in the conversation, but it went south. And like I called back and never heard, and it's been crickets ever since. And that was since 2016. And I've sent Happy Mother's Day, like you told me, like I wouldn't be sending Happy Mother's Day, Merry Christmas. But I just do it because that's who I am. Or sometimes I wonder, am I doing it just to poke and say, this is an unresolved
I think we
issue,
have
right?
had that conversation. And that's where the controlling part comes in. Because if something is going to end, it's almost like you want it to end on your terms and not just be left out there in the dark.
Ooh.
What you think? We've talked about that before.
I don't think I want to end it on my terms. I think I like a level of resolve. And resolve for me um is we don't have to be good friends, but we've come to reason with one another that, hey, we're just not in each other's life anymore. And it's cool. Or did I do something to offend you? I think that's always my thing. And one of my friends told me that she was like, "It's okay, Neesha. You don't have to be right in this. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay." And I was like, "But I'm not wrong in this situation. Why are you saying that?" And they kept like bleeding that in me. Well, if you don't know whether you're right or wrong, and the person just cuts you off and you keep it moving, and I don't know, there's a sense of abandonment in a relationship. I can honestly say that I have felt abandoned in that relationship, and I feel like in relationships, it's nothing wrong with wanting a level of resolve. I don't think it's anything wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Now, did I lose sleep over for a while? Yes. Do I lose sleep
And
over
that
there anymore?
right.
No, but I have had this inkling that if I run into this person, how am I going to respond?
And that's right. So that's where we differ because
Right.
I'm not losing sleep. And if I see you, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. And that's that. And I will never, if I never see you again, I'll never have another conversation.
But if they just
I'm
totally
good.
ignore you and walk past you, then you like keep it moving too, right?
What? Absolutely.
But I guess for me that's what I'm saying. Like
babe, if they
it
don't want
opens
to
a
be
wound
bothered,
up again. If you see people and there's been no healing or no resolve or you don't know, then doesn't that open up something that makes you start wondering all over again?
so to me, and putting on my doctor's hat without my doctor's degree, I would say you are letting people control you, control your emotions. If they have that much control over you, where they are living their life and not even thinking, and you are stressing and losing sleep, and they have moved on with their life.
I don't lose sleep anymore of that. But I'm saying like, and I
Yeah,
do feel
but
like I've
that's
grown.
that situation, which was years ago.
Yeah.
But if it was to happen again with somebody,
Boom, boom, boom.
you'd be right back where you were again.
So guess what?
But it goes back to the beginning of my conversation. When you love hard, which you do, you hurt hard. And if everybody was hard hearted in this world, then this would be a terrible place to be in this world. If everybody was cold hearted and just could cut people off with nothing.
But see, I'm scratching my head because I mean my nerves are starting to tingle up. My thoughts is coming. What I want to say to that is that I really feel like you are absolutely correct. But I think there's a that box that I've opened up and closed and put it away to really pay attention to everybody. And I think that because I love people genuinely, if I see things going in a direction where my flesh will rise up,
Mm-hmm.
I back away. And I don't back away to be mean, but I back away to say, this is a Neesha issue and not another person issue. Because people are who they are. But in the relationship, I feel like you are responsible for the way you respond. You are responsible. You can make a mistake once. What's that? Give me once, shame on you, but give me twice, shame on me. And so the truth is that I try to learn from my mistakes. So the error of my ways, I've asked God to show me in that situation, what area did I really get frustrated in? And I said, sometimes we put people in places where they don't belong. Sometimes we put people on pedestals and they don't belong there in our relationships. And we really need that goes back to the relationships. Like, why are you in my life? And so I'm saying that to say that we've had friends who've come and gone and as a couple. And it bothers me that they just kind of are in a different space because I loved community. I love doing things together. And I wish people could last for a lifetime, but that's not unrealistic. And I'm saying at 54, I'm not like, oh, I just wish we could all just stay together, one love and happiness and family. But what I am saying is I've learned from my mistakes that there are seasons, reasons, and lifetimes in relationships, and I need to be okay with it, but I am responsible for how I respond to the relationship. You agree with that?
I do. I do. But one thing I do know about relationships is, matter of fact, I'm gonna let you talk about it because you wrote a book about it. But I'll make this comment, and you can start wherever you want with your book. That everybody is not meant to be that pillar in your life when it comes to relationships. Everybody is not. Some people will come, you glean, capture what you need, and then you move on, and not in a move on state as in your enemies, but they're just not the core in your relationship. Because if you look at all the relationships that we have from the time we actually started really going to church, look at that core of people.
Yeah.
Do we hang out with any of those people?
Nope.
We're in relationship with them.
Right.
We love them. They're
We
our
love them
sisters and our
and
brothers.
Yeah.
But we don't like, hey, what you doing next Friday?
That's true. We
You
show
know,
up to baby showers or bridal showers or tried weddings and stuff like that.
right? Because
Life milestones. Yeah.
we're family.
Right.
We'll always be family.
Always, forever. Right.
But then look at the next core group of people that we've had that we kind of hung out with. We don't even really hang out with those. So, and then like I don't even know who our well I do kind of know who our core is now, but it's almost like we got core here because of this relationships. Then we have a core here because of these relationships, and we try to meet all of them and hang as much as we can.
Now, this goes so many different directions, and I want to say this first.
Go.
The truth is that relationships really did drive me crazy, and it started with family, and I might even get a little choked up on this. It started with family. It started with who I thought were my friends from when I got pregnant with Kristen and first being married. It started in high school where I thought people were my friends and they made a bet on me. There's a lot of dynamics where, and I want to say this, I've forgiven those spaces, but I remember them. And I feel like the purpose in them is for me to have the sensitivity level that I do have right now and compassion towards people who feel abandoned or rejected or are made to feel less than. I have real issues with people that treat people differently. Now, if you got a bad attitude, you know what I mean, and you show me that ugly side of you, there's a part in me that says, "Oh, there's a God. Oh, there's something." Like you always, if we sitting at a restaurant and I don't have a relationship with the server, but you're serving me my food. So I'm grateful that you're serving me my food because to work in a restaurant, that's a gift to somebody to serve you, right? I don't care if it's their job. People, that's a humbling situation to have to serve people. Just like I had to stand behind a chair and work. I enjoyed it, but it doesn't mean that you're not serving someone, right? Nobody's
Mm-hmm.
serving you. So then we sit there, and if the waiter comes over or the waitress comes over, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how are you today? You know, hi, how are you today? And then they walk away. What can I get you to drink? And I say some water. How was your day? And what's like, you're not just gonna leave them alone, are you? You're gonna try to fix some people personality, Neesha. And sometimes there were times, you remember back in the day, I asked, can I have a different server? Because I would pull, be like,
Why?
I don't know. I wanted something. This is back in the day. Now this not now.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not now.
Not as much. Okay. Okay.
I won't ask for a different server, but I do try to. And sometimes,
Babe, let me tell you this. Hold up. Don't remember that thought. Remember that thought. So I just want to make this comment. We have been at restaurants, and I can see by your response to them or the way you look at them, and I'll say, "You don't like them, do you?" And you'll be like, "No, I don't."
I
And
don't like.
they're not doing anything rude. They're just not bubbly, and sometimes you'll ask their opinion on should I have this dish or this dish,
Dish, right?
and that's like, I don't know,
What
whatever
do you
you
want?
prefer.
Right.
She hates that answer. She wants them to give a soliloquy of why they like this
And I
or didn't like this.
understand we're not at Ruth Chris every time we go somewhere where you're gonna get that putting on the Ritz service. But I feel like you never know who you're sitting in front of. And customer service is big to me. And so, but I do believe, and I've been in situations, although I don't have a relationship with these people, I have built relationships based on sometimes just providing people either good customer service or inquisitive of them, and then a conversation starts and it builds into something else, which brings me to the point of, if you actually have a relationship with someone, there should be some level of responsibility to the seasons, reasons, and the lifetimes. Do you understand what I mean? Like, there should be something that you're responsible for, that you understand, that you have an understanding. And
Yes.
most people may not think that deep, but I care about relationships. But that's probably why I wrote the book, Relationships Driving Me Crazy, because I was so passionate about thriving. I didn't grow up with friends, or the friends that I had abandoned me. And I feel like that's where I was thriving.
And
And
then
I
some
wasn't,
of the friends you had were driving you crazy.
and they were driving me crazy. And because I thought people wanted to live holy, live right. And when I saw all this other stuff, and not that I was perfect by any stretch of imagination, but it was like stuff started to change, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. Okay, this is not right. And then the people that shut down on you and just completely cut you off, like I was talking about, and they don't really give you an example of what's the matter, what went wrong. I got an issue with that.
I have an issue with that too. Because to me, if you have been friends for that long of time,
Back to that high school girl.
have the common decency or respect to be like, I didn't like what you said. It made me feel some kind of way. I think it's best if we just, you
Yeah.
know, you can deal with that and move on.
One thing you
But it's
said to
like,
me.
you mean all our years together wasn't even worth it wasn't even worth a text, maybe?
Let me tell you something.
How
That
about a
freed me.
text?
That freed me, Wes. Right. Ignore my text or whatever. But that freed me when you said this. He said, Neesha, if things did get better, do you see yourself calling and saying, let's go to the mall, or let's go out to dinner, or let's go to a movie? I was like, nope. It's like, so if that person can't give you just the decency to say what's going on, then what kind of friend really were they? Or were you just, or who were you to them?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the difference, right? In the relationship. Who were you to them, or who were they to you? That's so good. And I realized that I was thriving off of something. And sometimes you take pride in, oh, this is my friend. They kind of special. Like starstruck, if for lack of a better word. I claim not to be starstruck. I'm not a starstruck person, except for
Mm-hmm.
maybe one or two people in the world. But the bottom line is that, you know what, I had to grow from that experience to say, you know what, God made me special too. And I don't have to chase nobody. You know what I mean? I don't have to allow things to get to me. But some of the same relationships that drove me crazy, I went back. Some of the same relationships that drove me crazy, I had them right in this book.
In the book, babe.
I had I had them right in this book, because I realized, and the majority of them were my sisters, and then a few friends. Some didn't drive me crazy, but some, I just, yeah. So I realized that Yeah. That's a whole thing. But the key after the relationship driving me crazy is God's love heals. And I feel like I've healed in relationships to the point where, like you said, Wes, you pray about it, and if it's meant to be, they'll come back and say, "Hey, let's reconnect, or let's get together, or this that, and the other." But I realized that I had to put up boundaries, and I realized that my boundaries of my heart, when the Bible says, "Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life." That means just don't put your heart out there. Heart. Don't put your heart out there.
In your heart.
It's in my heart. I need to feel the love in my heart. So how do you feel about boundaries? Do you feel like you set good boundaries throughout the years, or do you feel like you even need boundaries?
I don't know. No, I set my own boundaries, I think. But let's talk about this book, and then I want to circle back to that because I think that just for people out there who are having issues with toxic relationships, I have a few rules that I want to just share with everybody.
Okay.
So talk about the book, and then we'll circle back, and then I'm sure my thoughts will be your thoughts because
okay. Well,
we
I
think
just
a lot.
a few things that really stood out to me about this book, where everybody thought, because we do marriage ministry, it was going to be about marriage, but it really wasn't. It was a self-reflection book and like a self-help book for all relationships, no matter what they are, from adult parenting to carrying baggage, relationship baggage, and really, asking myself the questions. And I think, what is this on page 58? It's called transparency. This one is called rescue me. And so in this particular on this particular page, I came to the point where I interviewed myself. Right? You want to ask me the questions?
No.
Okay, so
you pick them out.
All right. So the first one was, who am I? Right? Like, who is Neesha? Oh, is Neesha a wife? Is Neesha a sister? Is she a friend? Or who are you really? And so I had to say, I think I'm a nice person. I'm friendly. I'm exciting. I'm fun. I'm serious at times, and I'm creative. I'm intense, which has a bit of passion in it. So really identifying who I am, because how can you expect people in a relationship to provide you something if you don't even know who you are? So that's why I had to do that.
These
That's
are good
self-reflections.
questions. I'm gonna have to.
Okay, come on, say
Not
who
that I
are.
haven't read your book, babe.
Yes, no, you haven't. So who
But
are
I'm
you?
gonna.
Who
No,
are
babe,
you?
don't start it. I can't. This.
Come on, babe.
I
Just one
can't. I
question.
can't
All right,
be
just
that
pick
transparent
one.
right now because I don't even know.
Okay, so
I
what
don't
is
know.
your purpose in life? I know
See,
you can answer that.
you're going deeper, babe.
Come on.
Let's talk about you.
It's my relationship
What's your relationship
with you. Go deep. Go deep with me. The deep. Call us into the
Come
deep.
on, babe. What's the next question?
What is my purpose? I bet you if I said what is our purpose, you could say it.
Yeah, I don't. I don't. See, these are thought provoking questions that I would really
Okay,
have
so
to
let me
think
tell you
about.
what I think you purpose is.
Yeah, help me out.
Okay.
And maybe I can add
So
to
in
it.
our relationship, I realized, looking at you as an individual, I feel like your purpose in life, you provide wisdom to people, you provide mentorship, you provide great conversation, you provide leadership skills, you provide good work ethic, you provide an intimate relationship with God that does not have to be on display, because you show it through how you move and how you are. You provide the gift of helps. You provide the gift of creativity. You provide the gift of being innovative. You provide the gift of, I could just keep on going with the purposes of who you are. But do you feel that anything I said
those are nice
matters
to me? So those are nice attributes, but
okay, so like
when
mentorship,
you say what is what is
purpose.
my purpose, that's like what has God put me on this earth to fulfill in my short 80, 90, 100 years that I'm going to be here on this planet.
Okay, so I put
that's what I'm hearing. I wasn't hearing all of those. To me, those are just attributes. That's not a purpose.
Okay.
To me.
But I said for leadership, there's a purpose in leadership. What do you lead in? You led at your job. You led it in you lead in marriage ministry. You lead men to where they need to be. That's purpose. So in leadership, you can add the attributes after it, but if your purpose is leadership, your posture is leadership.
Okay.
See?
So you put me on the couch today. I'm not answering the rest of these questions. So
don't put you on the couch. Okay. So I said my purpose
I need a hanky.
is to encourage, love, pray, to live to the fullest, to grow, change, exhort, smile, and laugh. Where can I be effective? I said in my home, my community, my church, my job, anywhere there are people, I can be effective because I feel like you could be used in any way. And every relationship is not a close relationship. I have a relationship with my banker at US Bank. Okay. They're not my friend I'm having buddy time with, but that's still a relationship. So I'm saying that to say that what is my expectation when I go to the bank from my teller that I see all the time or the banker that I see all the time is he provides great customer service. That's what I look for. But if I came in there one day and he scowled at me, then I'd be like, well, what's going on? Or have a seat over there, Miss Stringfellow. When he normally says, "Oh, come right in," that would make me wonder what shifted the relationship.
He probably checked the checking account. So I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Okay.
Moving on.
So that's what I'm saying. Different relationships require different things, but it's your expectations. When your expectations fail, I feel like it shouldn't crush you to the point that you didn't see. Because I don't believe God allows you. I believe He'll allow you to heal in the areas where you've had pain, but I do not believe that He will leave you with blinders on. Open the eyes of my heart, Lord. Right? I'm like, open them, Jesus. Like Elijah told Elijah, look again and see what you're talking about. Look again and see what I'm trying to show you, but you keep jumping in the same thing over and over again, and you have to keep hitting your head the same way over and over because in their relationship, why? Because your expectations exceed what people can provide.
That's good stuff.
Yeah. And I that's what I feel like this book is about. I mean, the chapters I wrote, I mean, I could just run through them real quick just because they're things that this is just my own journey, right? One of my famous lines is my tagline: grace, grace, grace. Give people grace. I mean, you have to provide grace because God's grace is sufficient for me. So why isn't it sufficient for someone else? But you don't keep giving grace to somebody that keeps slapping you in the face.
What do you give them?
You give them.
What do you give them?
You give them grace, but then you move out the way so that you don't get hit again. Do you understand? I give you grace. The Bible said, "Turn the other cheek," but guess what? I'm not gonna get slapped again. I might get slapped once, maybe twice, but 3 times. If I didn't move out the way, it's something wrong with me. I need grace to get some wisdom.
True. So I think one of the things that they teach now or talk about is the grace you get the first time. And then from that point, I'm going to set these boundaries. Do you know? Let's talk about toxic people. I don't think toxic people always know that they're being toxic. I don't always think they know that they're toxic. I think that they think that there's just them or I'm shooting from the hip and I speak in my mind
This is
and
how I am.
this is just how I am.
Or you only been married for me 35 years.
I'm just telling the truth. How did that fit in there? I don't know.
If you don't know me by now.
Okay. How did that fit in there?
I'm saying that to say that people get stuck in a space that, like, this is how I am. You teach it all the time. This is how I am. You should understand this by now.
I've always been this way.
I've always been this way.
I was like this before you married me.
Right.
So deal with it.
And what is your famous line? Well, how's that working for you?
Exactly. How's that working out for you? You can keep on being the same way, and you absolutely better expect the same results because it's not going to get any better.
So here's my question for you.
Go.
In our relationship.
Why do you have to keep talking about us? You want me to just take my shirt off and be transparent?
No, I just...
Go ahead, baby.
I just want to ask you
Go ahead. I'm ready. Go.
All I want to say is, have you seen me make effort in the relationship to change the areas of not being stuck?
That's an easy question, yeah.
Okay, what about you? Do you feel like you've changed?
I make an effort for everything that I am lacking in.
Yeah. And sometimes I notice when you're intentional. Because you do a double take of your head.
A lot of times you don't. Yeah, you don't notice. And I just keep it moving.
Well, thank you for grace.
I don't know if it's grace. It's just if you want your relationship to be better, Like I know that I am toxic in some areas. I just have toxic. Now I don't know if it's toxic traits, but they're a little tainted, I guess. Not maybe toxic where you die. So those areas, I try my best to catch myself, especially when you're in a certain space. Because a lot of times you just take my mess and keep it rolling. It just bounces off of you, like. Psh. And then sometimes it'll hit you and knock you to your knees, and I'm like, babe, I was just kidding. I always kid with you like that. And then sometimes you're just super sensitive. But I get it, and I recognize that because we've been married, and I recognize that, and I say, okay, I see where she is, to the best of my ability. Now, sometimes I fail. Sometimes when you come with that energy, I feel like I need to match that energy, and
And you match it very
we
well.
just go downhill from there.
We and I, you know what? But we come back up, thank God. But I wanted to say something. This is like sidebar because as you were talking, and let me just say this: to me, this is the love of relationship and the love of Holy Spirit, and this could be in any area. And I am the person that thinks the worst. Before I read this, I'm the person that thinks the worst. So, like, say for instance, if I get into it with my mom or one of my daughters, my brain, and they're not talking to me or whatever, I immediately go into panic mode to God, please don't let anything happen to them. Lord Jesus, please keep everyone safe. Please let us reconcile because life is not promised tomorrow. Now, do you call that trauma in a relationship? I'm just saying, or do you think I'm just neurotic? I think that I'm just that person that says life is a vapor. I take the word for what it says. And when you can really be in a relationship with someone and you can go days without talking, or you can be in a frustrated space of, the Bible says be angry, sin not. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But what if you walk out here tomorrow and you don't get to see your friend or your daughter or your son, and you've been in that relationship, and then I think about Kirk Franklin and all of that situation, right? Like I just
So here's what I
I know I
learned.
I didn't mean to bring out Kirk Franklin and all of that, but it just all of the stories like start turning into a big, huge
So here's what I learned from
snowball.
your kids, your children. Um, it is okay to need some space for a few days, a couple. You don't have to run and we're chasing behind and fixing, and it's okay. You want to chill over here for a minute. We just need some space because we both got into some stuff and we both said some things. It's okay to leave a little space. Now that doesn't mean that you have to be rude and blunt and just completely cut it off
Or ignore phone calls.
or ignore. Sometimes you do though. Sometimes, because if I'm not in a space where I really want to talk to you right this second, doesn't mean that I'm mad at you or I hate you. It's just you know what? I just don't. I can't handle that part right now. I got all of this going on over here. I can't handle that right now. And I've
In a
learned.
relationship, do you think this is fair for someone to say that? Or do you feel like it should just be understood?
I think it should be said, but when you are in a relationship, sometimes I think it is understood because, like for my kids, I know them. I know that if they huff and puff and leave up out of here, tomorrow they'll be calling, coming by with the kids, whatever, or the day after. That's not going to last. That's the normal ups and downs of any relationship. Every relationship is not going to be smooth skating on ice.
Look, I need to write part two.
You do. So,
But let me just say this before you go from there, because I want to know, do you think that that is trauma when you feel like, I mean, it's from experience that those things where you're like, I know you're gonna be okay, you're gonna be over here tomorrow, and then in a relationship, because we got relationship, then you should be okay because I just needed a couple of days of space. Now I'm coming back, and everything is should be great
hmm,
with no resolve, with
should
no resolution. No,
if there was a situation that needed some resolve and some resolution, maybe so.
Okay, but if
But
you
if,
just
if
get
you just had a heated conversation because you are disagreeing on something, and then you're like, you know what? Never mind. Just whatever it is what it is. And then you leave out. What resolution do you want when you get back? Do you need to hear the words, you know, I'm sorry that we didn't agree. Maybe I should think about looking at it a different way. Or do you need to hear those words?
People that need affirmation, absolutely, positively, 100%.
Okay.
Because I promise you, if a person who needs affirmation is the person that gives it, then when people treat them a certain way or cut them off and then they come back wanting something.
So, yes. Yes to your answer now. And I say that because if you are the person or type of person where you need some type of resolve, then as the other person, you should know that about your relative or friend and know that they need that and offer that to them. And by you not offering that to them, I think sometimes you're doing it intentionally because you know that you can keep that upper hand and you know that you can put that little dagger in a little deeper because you know that they need that. And I think that that is not necessarily okay to do that in a relationship. If you know that person needs that, because it's not fair when you know that they need that in that relationship to just leave them hanging like that, and or to come back and act like nothing ever happened, like nothing was ever said, like you didn't break dishes, any crazy thing like that.
And if you need space, if the person, a person's personality needs the space that they need, then a person who constantly needs resolve needs to be patient.
So it kind of works both ways.
It works both ways. I agree. I am going to write a part 2 because I realize I still need some more healing from this conversation and relationships. And not that I'm mad at anybody, but I will tell you, you can guard your heart with all diligence, or you can guard yourself to say, you know what, I'm gonna make sure that nobody taps that area again because
yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think that you have grace and forgiveness for people who have hurt you or done you wrong or rejected you. I'm not quite sure if you are 100% healed from all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you have the grace.
Now I'm sitting on your couch, huh?
Well, I mean, because sometimes, like you say, you have grace and you say you're forgiven, but there's some people on Facebook and Instagram who you have not friended. All right.
Let me just tell you something.
Go ahead.
If the Lord releases you from some things, come on, somebody.
Let it ride.
Let it ride. Because if you open a door somewhere where you don't know where it's headed and it has no purpose, what is the late Dr. Miles Monroe? Leadership, okay? Where there is no purpose, abuse is inevitable. And I have to understand the purpose. And that is the honest to God truth, Wes, in every relationship. And even with some of my relationships now that have been kind of new over the last 10 years, once I get who you are and what place or space you fit in my life, it's my responsibility to not overstep or to move past those boundaries. Because why? And if God says, okay, now you can walk a little closer, that's fine. But I've learned.
Yes.
I've learned how to have relationships.
And some of those people, they don't even know.
They don't even know.
They don't even know that they cut you that deep back then. They just thought that they were kids being kids.
Right. Or they were adults being adults.
And they probably don't even remember 90% of the things that they did.
Yeah.
They just remember you from grammar school or high school and be like, oh, there's Neesh.
No, we can move on. Come on.
Follow me.
I'm still not.
Friends, please.
No.
All right.
God showed me.
So let me ask you this. In toxic relationships, and we'll kind of end it with these. What would you suggest to somebody if they're a family member or whatever? Just in a toxic relationship.
What did you do?
What's?
You sure you want to ask me?
I'll start out.
No, that'd probably be best.
I'll start out. So I think the first thing you need to do, and actually I read these, and it's on my phone, and I don't have my phone, but I got these from a website, Step Up something relationships.org. Something like that.
Okay.
I'm going to put it in the
chat. Okay.
And something, because I got this from, so I don't want to be like I just stole this and this is just fresh in my brain. But it was great when I read it.
Okay.
First, you need to have the courage. You need to talk to them and tell them and confront them and let them know how you feel and how they made you feel. Because how do they know? Sometimes they don't know.
Do you agree with writing it out? because sometimes when you face people up front, and I do believe in this, and I got this from the beautiful Catherine Wilson. She said, give it 24 hours before you respond to it, and then I believe in writing it out, reading it out loud, because sometimes and then like sometimes I would bring you letters and say, babe, should I do this, should I talk to this, or should I, you be like, no, don't do that. Or sometimes you say, yeah, go ahead, I think you should, if that makes you feel better. But the truth is that write it out. And I agree with texting it, or no, not texting it, maybe a letter. I do feel that way because sometimes people don't want to talk. They don't want you to come to them.
Sometimes they don't even know. They don't. Sometimes they're
Okay, I
just
guess
ignorant to their whole
it's case by
toxicity.
case. Okay.
So once you have established that or let them know that, it's like at that point, that's where you set the rules. That's where you set your boundaries. You're like, look, you're not going to be talking about this about me. You're not going to be pointing this out or shooting this down. Every time I say left, you got 10 reasons why my opinion is wrong. I don't like that. And you set your boundaries. Okay. Now, if your boundaries means that me and you are not going to have that conversation, that's fine. If that means that if I'm having a conversation and you decide to be your toxic way and you start interjecting, I'm going to ignore you and change the subject and move on. I'm not even going to give way to what you're saying because that's how they need to know. And then even when you write out a letter and you've explained to them and you told them, sometimes they still don't know. So in the middle of their behavior, sometimes you have to be like, why did you say that? Do you know how that makes me feel when you say that? And you ask these questions and you put them on Front Street, and you make them ask these questions like, no, I didn't know you felt that way. And sometimes when you do that and then they have to answer questions, they think a little bit harder as opposed to you just writing or saying something and they're like, this fool is just tripping. He's a little sensitive. Or she.
I've sure been accused of that.
So sometimes you have to, and if that doesn't work, then for your own health, mental health, and state of being, and physical health too, sometimes you just have to minimize your contact as much as possible with that person. So if it's a friend, that's not that hard to do. If it's a family member that lives with you, that may be a little bit harder to do.
Yeah, or a family member that you have to see during the holidays or see during special occasions, graduation. Yeah. And I think cutting people off or just severing your ties. I think that agree to disagree. Can we agree to disagree in this and still be family? Can we agree to disagree and still be friends? Sometimes everything is circumstantial. It's not always that easy.
And whether you agree or disagree, you don't have to use degrading words or conversations that make me feel less than.
Matching energy with energy.
You don't have to. You don't have
to. It's a choice.
You choose to be that way. You choose to be a jerk.
Wow.
That's what you do. Now, food for thought. If all the relationships you have, if you have not experienced anybody with a toxic relationship in your family or all your friends or your schoolmates, you haven't experienced that, it could be you that's a toxic person. Just saying.
What?
If you have not experienced that toxicity from another family member or another friend, you could be the toxic person. You could be that toxic person. That's why you haven't experienced, because you are the toxic person.
Okay then. That's deep.
It is.
That's really sad though. I mean that
it's very.
I was going to say there are people.
It's very narcissist.
Okay, yes, it's very narcissist, but it's also the fact that there are some instances where maybe they're not toxic, but they just have a way of setting great boundaries, and they don't overstep certain.
No. You're missing my point. You're missing my point. I'm not saying that if you haven't experienced this, you are absolutely the toxic person. I'm saying there's a good chance that you could be. Because if you have to set boundaries like you were going to, if you're setting boundaries and all that, what are you setting boundaries for if the person isn't, if you haven't experienced toxicity? There would be no boundaries to set. There would be no need to set boundaries if you have never experienced that. So if you're setting boundaries and you stay clear and you do put all these safe things in place and you don't let things bother you, then you've experienced it and you've seen it and you recognize it. It may not have affected you or
Hmm.
brought you down, but you see it. I see toxic people all the time.
You
You
do.
know, I do. I've recognized it. I've worked with them, worked for them. I see. Does that mean, you know? Yeah,
I guess I just have to just choke it up to. I can't really look at that. I do see that hurting people hurt people, but it I also say heal people. And then the other thing is that you can go from hell to heal. So I always think there's hope in relationships. But if you show me who you are, unless you meet Jesus, I'm gonna believe you, and I'm gonna stay clear. And I think that's probably if you show me something. I'm gonna really start investigating this because this is like opened up a whole lot of stuff in my brain right now. My brain is like going. I can go write another book right now because I feel like I don't have toxic relationships right now that I would know of. Have I felt the heat of relationships being challenged? Absolutely. Depending upon my level of sensitivity, because sometimes it is you, like you said.
can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Unless you want
maybe.
to finish your thought.
Go ahead. I mean, we have this banter, everyone, where we cut each other off, and we just. So my thought is probably gone now. So go ahead.
Are there people in your life or that you know that you have cut off or feel like you need to or limited yourself
Right now, at this point in my life,
in your entire life?
in my entire life, absolutely,
So
positively.
you have had experience with toxic people.
Heck yeah. Have you? To the point you cut people off?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know
Well then,
toxic people.
so okay?
I'm just
So
asking.
okay, okay. I don't see you where you're going with it. That means we're not narcissistic
No,
because
babe.
we've experienced it.
'Cause I was only going off of what you were saying, but you don't remember your thought. So I'm sorry I
Right, because
cut
you
you.
cut me off. That's all right. The whole principle of what I gather from what you're saying is that take a look at that big, huge beam in your own eye before you start just really thinking it's everybody else, number one. And number two, if you technically feel like, I don't have no problems, I'm good with everybody, I'm this, then you need to still take a look at yourself and say, then what are you experiencing in life if you've never experienced any type of ripple effect, if you've never experienced any type of turmoil? Because the
Mm-hmm.
Bible does say, blessed are those men when they persecute you and say all manner of evil against you for my sake. Like, it's like, I understand that when there's going to be some turmoil in any relationship, mother, I mean, like I told you, I'm one of those people that's going to repent quickly or pray and ask God to forgive me and get it right because I don't want the sun to go down in my wrath. I do not want to be in a space where something tragic happens and I live in a space of regret, no matter what it is. And sometimes I negate my own feelings because of that.
I think that's trauma
That is trauma. That is trauma. You want me to
from
cry? You want me to
experience.
cry now?
Not at all.
I'm just saying that because my Deborah always says this to me. She says, you don't always know how to flip the script and say, she'd tell me a story, pouring her heart out like we were talking about last time, and then I would be like, well, so and so did this and they lost this and they this and the other. She's like, you always. She said, just let me live in that moment where I'm feeling this, but I think about what would happen, and that might be living in a state of sometimes fear, but it's like fear to not do my part to do what I can in the relationship so I don't have any regrets. I don't want to have regrets, right? I don't want to have any regrets. And I've seen so many people in relationships with could be trauma that have regrets because you made a choice. Now, mind you, if I write you this beautiful letter and say, Dear Wes, you're not my husband right now, I'm writing to you. Dear Wes, I'm really sorry for the way our relationship went. I realized the area of ways that where my error of my ways where I could have changed some things. I really am not sure what went wrong exactly, but I do want you to know I love you and I pray for you. And I pray that one day we can, our relationship can heal to the point where we can forgive each other and move on. Now, if you never get back close to me or never respond to this letter, if something happened to you, I feel like I've done what I could do. I've forgiven. It might still sting, it might still hurt my feelings, but I've forgiven you, and I'm sorry, what happened, but the blood is off my hands, right? The blood is off my. I want to live free like that. If that makes sense.
Is that free though? To me,
it's free.
And I know this is a whole nother deep part to this. But is that really freedom when it is based on whether or not you think that they might die? And so I mean, that's if that is your reasoning for wanting to send a letter and
that's not the only reason, Wes. My heart.
I'm saying,
somebody that has a heart to write a letter.
You said that a few times. Hold on. If I'm mad at them, Lord Jesus, don't let anything happen to them, and I'm like, your reasoning for wanting to have grace and resolve is
no, Wes. That's taking it a bit extreme.
I know it's extreme, but that's what I'm hearing.
Well, your hearing
is because
off.
that's it. Okay. What do y'all think?
Y'all can write in about this one. I just think that I don't want my good to be evil spoken of. I don't want the sun to go down in my wrath.
What if they were guaranteed to never die? Then you wouldn't.
No, I would, Wes, because you know how I feel about relationships. I want the healing aspect. That's why I hurt hard. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I'm saying if I feel conviction that there's something that I've done, or even if, like you said, some people don't even know. Some people, I have been so accused of stuff that I didn't even know. As a matter of fact, most recently, I was accused of something, of not communicating with someone because they felt like a friend of a friend had shared something with me that I knew nothing about. My one of my greatest family sisters to this day, I remember when she was angry with me because she thought I knew about some of the circumstantials that she was going through, and y'all had kept it from me. But they would walk around not talking to me, and I didn't know why. Do you understand? So sometimes people don't know. And I'm saying that if God shows me and he says, I know, you know, Neesha, your heart could be right in this area, then I'm going to repent. You know, you could have talked to your mother a little better than that. You know, you should have forgiven your father for this. You know that your brothers and sisters just trying to be who they are, and sometimes they don't mean to hurt you. You know this, and then that's what conviction comes over for me. And my feelings are hurt right now because I realize that that's an area that sometimes I don't like about me.
That you always have to be the one?
Yeah.
Well, that is why I've always said.
That's made me emotional. I just didn't realize that, but that's upsetting. Heesh, I'm not Jesus. I didn't die on the cross for nobody.
But what's the opposite of that, though?
I don't know, Wes.
Not giving a rat's booty. That's what it is. Thank God that we got niches in this world. True. Otherwise, this would be a cold place to be. And that is exactly why I say that. When you love hard, you hurt hard.
Yeah, I don't like this topic no more. I guess I will.
You wrote the book.
I guess I'll write another part.
Gonna write the result. But here, just build a healthy support system. You should always have somebody who you can talk.
I do, and I seek therapy too because of this very thing.
And what's the most important thing? Stay level-headed and let go of what you cannot change. I'm good at that. I'm good at this last one right here. Sure. Stay level-headed. If I can't change it, I've got some family members who we just absolutely fell out, and I tried to rectify it the day of, and it just, thank you, and it just didn't happen. You know, does that mean I gave up? Nope. No. Just put you over here. It's like, hey, deal with you when it comes back around. I know it'll come back around. You know, I know that things be okay once we all learn and grow and learn to do better, grow better. You know, I understand that. But I can't control how you feel, and I'm not going to try to make you feel any way different. If that's the way you want to feel, God bless you. I'll see you when we get to the same place again. And I'm good with that. Good with doing that. Not to say that I'm good with that and just not thinking about it ever again, you know, but I don't let it control my life, and I don't lose any sleep over it. But I'm good. I am me.
Good for you. I wish there was more Wesses in the world. But anyway, what I want to say is that the
Yes.
important thing is restored relationships, and I think that that's what I care about is restoration. Um, the Bible says if you have aught with your brother or sister, go to them in love, and I do my best to do that. I do my best to set boundaries. I do my best to guard my heart. Um, I think that sometimes you do get weary, and that's an okay thing. But that's why you have a therapist, and I prefer a spirit-filled therapist that can minister to me not only from the clinical space, but also from the spiritual spaces of saying, "Hey, these are some things you need to do," and everything is applicable through the Word of God. And I have to refer to the Word of God because if I didn't have the Word of God, I would have cut a whole lot of people off a long time ago. I would have lived in my trauma and not forgiven. But like I said, hurting people hurt people. And one of the things I remember my brother in love, John Anthony, writing this on social media. He posted this. He said, and I know he didn't quote it, but it says, "I'm sorry I hurt you while I was hurting." And so in relationships, when people don't know, sometimes you have to look at it and say, you know what, I'm sorry they hurt me while they were hurting, because really hurting people hurt people. But heal people heal people. And once there is restoration, God, God is the restorer, not us. So I look forward to that. God's love heals. God's love heals. Relationships driving me crazy? Boom. But God's love heals. And there's always a but and an and, because His love is sufficient. His grace is sufficient. So great conversation,
Good
Wes.
closing words.
Woo, Jesus. That was a lot.
I got a couple more questions for you.
Oh, gosh.
If you can handle them.
Come on with it. Question of the day. You know what? I want to give away a book today. Can I give away a book? I want to give away a book to someone. So if you write in and you're struggling in your relationship, if you make a comment or inbox me your email address either on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Instagram, you see some of the reels. Shout out to our producer Elise Howard, who has been putting together those amazing reels. She's like our spirit. She's our spiritual daughter, like play daughter. But the bottom line is she's been putting it out there, and I honor and appreciate her. You honor and appreciate her too.
Absolutely.
So we love you, Elise. Thank you, thank you. Once you listen to this, all right, come on. Here we go. I hope it's a good one, y'all. I don't have time for no more tears.
It's gonna be one about relationships.
I don't want it to be about relationships. All right, here's my card right here. Inbox me, you all will get a free book. First one it does. I cannot believe this. I don't know if I have to answer this one.
Let me see.
No.
Yeah, you wanted it to not. Well, yeah. It's kind of about relationships, but it's about relations. Now you gotta read it.
All right, it says. Sorry.
I got a really light question.
Okay, you want me to skip this one?
We'll switch.
Okay. What jobs did you have during your teenage years? Taking care of my siblings. I wrote articles for our church newsletter. I had a little comedy corner. I believe it or not. I thought it was funny.
Babe.
And then.
Who are you? How come I didn't know that?
Yeah, I did. I wrote it was a little corner. It was my comedy corner, and I wrote in the newsletter. Sister Tanya Taylor, shout out to Sister Tanya. She did the newsletter, and my little section was in there. Anyway, also my husband gave me my first job. I worked at Evangelical Christian School where I kind of grew up, and I was a teacher's aide. Okay, and then I worked my very first job at Mr. T and Company on 71st and Jeffrey in Chicago, Illinois. Thomas Hayden and Dave Green hired me at $3.35 an hour because Wes was working building the salon out or changing electrical. I don't know what you were doing, but whatever the case may be, you got me the job as a receptionist. And I'll never forget, I had to follow the rules. And when I followed the rules, guess what happened? One of the girls called me up. I just was not used to that environment, but anyway, did I get fired?
I don't know.
I don't think I got fired.
You just quit.
I think I quit. Oh, I went to work at the one on 95th. They said I wasn't a good fit for 71st because they were really a lot. And then I moved to 95th and Jeffrey. So anyway, yeah, that was my first job. That was the first job, teenager, young adult, before we got married. Okay. What about you?
My job?
Sandberg.
So first, W-2 getting taxes job. Was working at the grocery store, Sandberg Supermarket, on the Gold Coast, which I learned a lot about rich people. I did. Life lessons.
Okay.
But we don't need to talk about that. You want to hear my question now? You want me to read this question?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to answer this question that you tried to skate out of. What makes sex great versus good? To me, that is an easy question because good sex can physically be great. But when you have great sex and your minds are in tune and you feel like the bed is flipping over and all of those good things, because
Thank
you
you
are
so
there.
much for joining us today on the Heartstrings podcast. That's about
when your
enough.
minds are into it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Well, thank God. Our minds in tune. Come on, mind. What did? Oh, somebody told me this. Hold your head like this. What our people say. Give me your head. Oh no, your forehead. Okay. Now try to talk to me.
Why?
Thank y'all for joining us on the Heartstrings podcast. We'll see y'all next time. Okay.
Bye bye.
We talking about friends. We talking about family. We talking about